Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is our Rice News analyst, Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tundu. Let's start with these day newspapers. The lead story, Boko Haram's threats against Buhari, empty boasts, says military. Urges international community to block funding sources for terrorists. President condemns attack on Adamawa, vows to rout insurgents soonest. Well, the military responding to that threat from the video, the latest video from the leader of the Boko Haram terrorists, who once said that the president, I think that video came out immediately after the president visited Maiduguri, and the military is responding. But I think what should interest most Nigerians and the story, which is also captured here in the Nigerian Tribune, as Borno fast today, aggressive campaign to root Boko Haram imminent, says Buhari. I think that I cannot wait for that day to come when we'll truly say Boko Haram has been uprooted from our land, and all the destruction, which we see like over the weekend in Adamawa, will put a stop to all that. So, for the president, as usual, he condemned the attack in Adamawa, and reassuring Nigerians that before long, Boko Haram will be a thing of the past. I hope that will come to fruition very soon. Ruben.
Once and for all.
You recall that, our second guest this morning, General Adeomi Ajibade, this was the last point we were discussing with him when he said that, look, the video that was released by Boko Haram, that the authorities should have responded. Incidentally, your first story this morning is about how, in fact, the defense headquarters has reacted. The presidency has also reacted. Because the last point that General Ajibade was making is about propaganda and psychological warfare. And when Tunu asked him whether indeed it would be right for the president to respond, he said, yes, certainly. Because these insurgents, they are addressing the people. They are playing on the minds of the people. And government also must get involved in that game. And I guess, that explains the need for the Defense Headquarters or the Defense Information Department to respond and say, look, Boko Haram is lying. They cannot overwhelm Nigerian soldiers. Well, by way of propaganda and psychological warfare, that's a good thing to say. But what we would like to see, really, is for government to scale up its efforts. And one of the points, raised in the story about blocking sources of funding for terrorists, I think General Ajibade also talked about that, about finance, about blocking the source of finance for insurgents and terrorists.
Okay, let's move on to the Guardian newspapers. Still on security issues, new thinking perhaps. Governors to pick commissioners in a restructured police force. This is a bill that is set for first reading in the National Assembly, in the Senate, being put forward by former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu. And with this bill, if passed into law, it will automatically unbundle the Nigerian police and will be referred, of course, the bill seeks to establish federal police, state police, National Police Service Commission, and National Police Council, and State Police Service Commission. Well, this is state police. It's talking about that there shall be state police in this, according to this bill. And Ruben, you happen to be one of those, like Ekwereman, who don't believe in this community policing being banded by the Inspector General of Police. And what Ike Ekweremadu is saying that, look, the time is ripe for Nigeria to have state police. We have to unbundle the present police force. One police force one IG from Abuja controlling everything. And in this structure, the governor will be in a position to appoint the commissioner of police based on the recommendation of the Nigerian Police Council. So I think it's some fresh thinking. If this can be pulled through, then can say, here comes state police at last.
Well, I mean, Nigeria has been on this issue of state police for a very long time, since the 2005 National Political Conference. And the matter has refused to leave the table. And the establishment of state police was one of the recommendations of the 2014 National Political Conference. And the whole idea is that if state governors are chief security officers in their state, they shouldn't be left in a situation whereby they have no control, either in terms of resources or in terms of personnel, over the security situation in their states. And they should not be in the uncomfortable situation that we have seen with some governors in recent times, whereby the only thing they could do in moments of crisis was always to go to Abuja to go and weep at the presidency, and draw attention to their helplessness. So I think that, this bill that has been brought up by Senator Ike Ekuremadu provides another opportunity for, the representatives of the people to re-examine, to discuss how further to make the Nigeria police more effective, in line with the principles of federalism, and also how to ensure that, the police is effectively decentralized and that the ordinary people of Nigeria can get the benefit of living a secure and safe environment, which is the responsibility of the civil police.
Okay. It's an emergency right now.
Yes, it is. Now, we cannot miss the photographs on the front page of The Guardian. That's the burned churches, houses, police stations, vehicles by Boko Haram in Gakida in Adamawa State. Quite a sorry sight. Of course, the Daily Sun, the lead story, governors to appoint commissioners of police in Senate police master plan, what we just discussed, state police to be independent. Now, the New Telegraph, senators, still from the Senate, senators who will kill bill creating agency for repentant terrorists. And on both sides of the aisle, both the PDP and APC, they seem to be on the same page on this. And they are saying that we will not allow this affront to see the light of day. This bill will not go through, I can assure you that. These are lawmakers from both the PDP and the APC speaking with one voice, like we have rightly condemned that move to create an agency that would create comfort for repentant, so-called repentant Boko Haram terrorists, whereas their victims, the orphans from their atrocities, have not been catered for by government.
A completely repulsive idea.
Now, the Nation newspaper, lead story, governors upset by excess crude account depletion. Yes, the governors are expressing shock that they were neither consulted nor informed as stakeholders on what warranted the withdrawal from the excess crude account, which was suddenly depleted from $325 million to $70 million in 1 month. The money in the excess crude account belongs to the 3 tiers of government.
Correct.
Now, a situation where the federal government seems to be dipping its hands into the excess crude account, spending it without consulting stakeholders. I think whether you are APC or PDP or ABGA as a governor, you are likely to get upset with that.
Of course.
Well, only recently, President Buhari, assured everyone that there will be transparency, financial disclosures, and that every money that is spent that belongs to government will be accounted for. So the governors have a good ground on the basis of that assurance alone to ask questions and say we want to know what happened. Not just the money that was spent, but also the dramatic reduction in just 1 month. And I think that, they have the right on behalf of the people to raise questions. And I have no doubts that they would get the explanation that they want.
Well, I hope where the money went, how it was spent, on what.
And the explanation should not just be between the governors and the presidency.
No.
The public also has a right to know in this regard.
I think we just move over to the foreign news outside the shores of Nigeria. The Guardian UK, time running out to contain coronavirus, experts warn. Italy, South Korea, Iran take strict measures as UK cases rise to 13. Of course, the coronavirus seems to be spreading very fast. In Italy, 11 northern Italian towns, over 50,000 people have been quarantined as a result of the outbreak of this coronavirus. While in South Korea, the cases have risen to as much as 760. So there seems to be this spread, despite the best effort. But in Wuhan, the epicenter of the Wuhan, rather. Now there seems to be some progress because there's been some let-up in terms of restriction because in China, but elsewhere in the world, there seems to be
the only comfort about this COVID-19 is that the WHO has still not declared it a pandemic. I'm always looking, because this is my least favorite topic to discuss. It makes me so anxious. I find it so stressful. So hopefully that will be maintained. It's still an epidemic and not a pandemic. So this expert warning that it needs to be contained, otherwise it will escalate. Hopefully it will be contained. Italy is taking really decisive steps. South Korea, the second hotbed of the coronavirus, is taking decisive steps. All I can do is hope and pray. I find it really stressful. I hate talking about COVID-19.
Globally, 78,000 cases worldwide have been reported. The figure is probably higher than that.
Yes.
Because those are what we read about are the reported cases. And then you have about 2,465 deaths globally. So that shows how serious it is. But in terms of how this affects us in Nigeria, okay, earlier on this morning, we were discussing with Reuters how it's affecting economy, how the stock market is taking a hit all over the world. But over the weekend, there was also a story about money not being released for the procurement of necessary medicals and for other forms of preparation by the Nigerian government. And I find that curious. I hope that somebody is going to take a special look at that and act on it, because it's one thing to promise Nigerians that, we're already being prepared for any case of emergency. And then at the same time to hear that there are issues with procurement. Well, while that problem exists at the federal level, we don't seem to have that problem in Lagos State, where the Lagos State government is doing a lot in terms of sensitization. And I see the Commissioner for Health, Professor Abayomi, either on television or on Instagram, trying to educate the people. And I think other states should emulate that example.
Still on the silver lining, I always have to find one. I saw a list from the WHO of African countries that are prepared in terms of testing for COVID-19, and we are on that list, thank God. So not every country made it, but we did.
So we're ready. We're ready. Yes.
Emmanuel
Thank
Efeni,
you so much,
very
Mr.
much.
Efeni.
See you again tomorrow morning.
Yes.